So now we have our urban hat from the 70s. Let's just call it that. I'm going to move that out of the way. Oh, I really should go back into OpenGL. I'm going to move that out of the way so that I can clear the path for project or tutorial 4, which is this weird sort of vase thing. So guess what? We're going to draw a rectangle. Whoever created these tutorials of Vectorworks must really like rectangles. So this time and you have to read this to see the crazy way that they want you to draw a rectangle, which is silly. But so basically we're going to draw a 6-inch square, 6 by 5. All right, so let's just change that in object info to 6 by 5. There we go. All right, boom. So then we're going to make a copy of it, and then we're going to make a 3-inch square. All right, so select this, Command D on a Mac, and the equivalent on the PC, and then we're going to also make a 3-inch square. So 3, 3. All right, there's our square. And right now these are sort of randomly placed. So we've got a rectangle, and a duplicate rectangle, and a square. Select all, convert to NURBS. Okay, I'm just going to select them all, modify, convert to NURBS. And ungroup. So that we have 3 separate NURBS. Curves. If we just want to orbit around, you can see that right now they're just flat rectangles. All right. And the object of 3 for the z value. So what's going on here is I'm going to select one of these. The z value is 0, which means that it's, so if I go to front, just so we understand what's happening, it's at 0. It's sitting at the origin. If I change, you'll see this better in isometric. If I change the z value to 3, hit return, it moves it up in the z direction 3 inches. So back to front, you can see it's moved up 3 inches. So that's what's going on there. So back to right isometric. We're going to select the other large rectangle and move it down 3 inches. So this one, the z minus 3 inches, return. So now we've got a square at 0, a rectangle at +3, and a rectangle at -3. You could also have used the move command, modify, move 3D, and have moved it in the z direction, which is exactly the same thing as changing it here. Changing the z from a 0 to 3 is the same thing as moving it z from 0 to 3. So, all right. So now we want to align all of these. So we're going to select all of them. Modify, align distribute, and we want to align the centers of them in that direction, and also align the centers of them in this direction. So this is actually a really powerful tool. We should have used this at some point in the 2D class, but in case you've forgotten about it, handy tool. So if you click OK, so now they are, ooh, why did it do that? Should not have done that. Probably did that because I was in isometric when I did it. So let's go to top plan, modify, align, do that again. Yeah, that kept them in their orientation. So the align tool is a sort of inherently 2D thing. So if you do it in isometric space, you're going to get a weird result. So make sure that you are in top view before you, or top plan or top, either one, before you use the Align Distribute tool. Alright, so now we have this. We've got a rectangle, a square, and a rectangle. They're all lined up with each other. It should look like this. And it does. Okay. So now we're going to use the Loft Surface tool. This is kind of a cool tool. So we're going to loft with no rail. So we're going to loft surface. Where is it? Loft surface. Okay. And we're going to no rail mode. Rails. Well, you'll see what it's doing. So no rail mode. Click on the left, and then click on the left, and then okay. So we're gonna click here and here, and you see it creates a curve, and then there, and it in 3D space. This has created a curve connecting these 3 points. I was gonna orbit around to show you the curve, but I have to finish it first. So loft surface. So here, 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 and when you're done, check. You should just be able to leave this all. Yep. Select create solid. Let me make sure that's what we did. So I'm going to do this for the 3rd time. Okay. I did not check that. So create solid. That's important. Okay. And if you look at OpenGL, you'll see that it has in fact created a solid. So it's use this curve and the shapes that we already had to sort of define this shape that would be difficult to create in any other way. So now in order to make it into a vase, we need to hollow it out. So we're going to go back to our Shell Solids tool. So select that. Shell Solids. What do we want this to be? 3/4 of an inch. Okay. So we're going to change this to 3/4. Click. So now we have this shape. We're going to do fillet edge. We're going to do a 1/4 inch. So fillet. One quarter. Let me make sure we're not selecting faces because I don't believe it will let us. Well, let's see if we do that. Let's see what happens. I bet it doesn't work, but we'll try it. I'm holding down Option here so I can select the back face. Shift, shift, shift. Yeah, that didn't work because we didn't want to curve we want this to be sharp. Except in the next step, they curve it. Weird. Okay, so Is that curves too? So we totally could have just done. I wonder if this option didn't exist when this was written 10 years ago. Select all faces. 0.25. Okay. Click. Boom. There we have it. Alright, great. This actually totally makes sense for it to be glass. Let's see if it... Oh. OpenGL. Gotta go into Final RenderWorks for it to look like something. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. And you'll notice how long it takes for it to render something that's glass. Wow, that's really slow. I'm gonna change that to something else. I don't have the patience. Back to metal. We'll pick another metal. Gold. Polished gold. There we go. Which looks suspiciously like polished yellow in this particular context, but at any rate. So now we have our four objects. And for the assignment, you should create a fifth object, any object you want, using these same techniques. You're gonna want to do some filleting and some potentially some lofting, some NURBS manipulation. If you're stuck and can't think of anything, shoot me a text and I'll give you some suggestions. But try to come up with something on your own. You could make a different kind of hat. You could make something that takes advantage of this shape. So use your imagination, make something cool. You could come up with an interesting top for this box using some of these other techniques. So try them out. And if you're interested in the other, some of the other options on some of these tools, because almost all of them have multiple modes, come see me or go to the Vectorworks webpage, a home site. Look at the explanations there, and it will explain how these things work. Because you can use them to create different things. But so you can make some pretty complex shapes. And actually in Vectorworks 16 and particularly in 17, there's a new thing called Subdivide Surface, which really and here it is, Edit Subdivision tool, where you can make some sort of crazy shapes that we're not going to really get into because we just don't have time to go that far this semester. But you can make some pretty complex shapes. So think of something interesting, model it, make it your fifth object, and then turn your file in, your Vectorworks file. If you have any questions, problems, give me a text or a phone call or an email, and happy modeling.